So, what's your kind of brewing ethos? What kind of beers do you make?
What kind of beers do we make? So we do all sorts, really. So we've just had our Neepaland series, which is a really popular series. It comes out in December every year, and that's kind of meant to be really ostentatious, kind of silly, very expensive to make. Andrew loves us for it.
That's our relationship.
Yeah. And it's collabs with kind of the newest and kind of like breweries who I think are doing really cool things in the New England space. So I think this year we did Attic, we did Dig, we did Baron, and we did Azvex.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, as a
Formerly
collab. Yeah.
of
Of
Neon
Neon
Raptor.
That's the
Raptor,
guy, yeah, that's the guy.
So it's a really
Nottingham.
cool.
Yep.
Yeah, you know, it's all, we're always taking it back to our hometown.
So lots of like big hoppy bold beers. We also make a cracking best on cask if you like a bit of that.
Well,
Yeah.
100%.
Really do.
Yeah.
Lee did one, unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, sorry, yes, unfortunately. Lee's dad, Lee made a tribute, which wasn't unfortunate, but Lee's dad unfortunately passed away a while back, and that was this beer.
I enjoyed watching you trip over yourself.
I'm going to keep digging there. So Lee's dad used to volunteer for us when we first started, and we had this ongoing joke where we couldn't pay him. We wanted to pay him, and we couldn't pay him because he didn't.
He just wanted to be here, and he loved the experience of being part of the team, and he'd knock off at 3 on a Friday, which is an hour before everyone else, and he'd have the bar to himself, and he'd go and have the best bitter, and he would just drink that on his own. But yeah, he always had this running joke with us both, which was, you need to give me a pay rise. And I was like, well, we'll give you 100% pay rise. The 100% on nothing's nothing. So we named an ESB called 100% pay rise not so long ago in tribute to my dad.
That's lovely.
So yeah, we do like the traditional styles. I think we would like to do more of them.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, so Jaega mentioned that we picked up a pub. So when the lockdown came in, as soon as the lockdown came in, one of our local pubs just shut up shop, and it was kind of too much for them, and they stopped. And we managed to get hold of the lease. And it's an interesting place. Classic East London boozer. It came with no less than 5 England flags on the walls when we arrived.
You knew what you were walking into.
Yeah. But it's a beautiful old, hundreds-year-old building, proper old school pub.
It was once voted Britain's roughest pub.
Yeah. There was a crap Sky TV programme about really rough pubs in the UK that came out
like
in the
something like
noughties.
Ross Kemp might have hosted.
No, you'd hope so. Or but no, it's Pete Brown is on it actually.
A very
Pete
young,
looking
Brown.
young and thin. Yeah. So we decided that if we were going to have an old school pub, we probably needed to get back on making the best.
But that had owning venues has somewhat shaped the beer that we make. I think you were saying this earlier. We launched with nothing over 5, and then people were like, love your beers, but go easy on us, please. So we then started doing the sub 5. We brought in the best beer ourselves. You then find you have to make a lager. And then, well, if I'm going to make a lager, I then want to make the best lager I can. So then it kind of snowballs like that a bit, doesn't it?
There are a few styles that just because you have venues now, you kind of have to make. And like one of them is like, I don't know if you guys do it, but I have to make a 4.5% wheat beer. Because otherwise, I have to buy a 4.5% wheat beer from somebody else.
We're not there yet, but Wayne's asked for us to make one.
Because going back to what I used to drink before I loved craft beer, I was like, well, when we went to a few different cities in Europe this year pouring at festivals, and it's kind of my go-to. I ended up drinking wheat beer quite a lot. So
nice little Snyder Weiss.
Yeah, it'd be great to have one back where we are. But I was like, well, every time we've done one, it hasn't sold. So well, actually, let's back ourselves this time. We're not that old, but we're 7 years old now. I'm sure we've got enough people who like our beer, who like that style of beer. And if we don't have enough people, we've got enough venues who buy off us to want a good.
So how good's your wheat beer? Because my fear is that you've got these
hundreds
of year-old heritage German breweries doing it really well, and actually not at that bad a price. How can we technically compete with that?
Yeah, the wheat's good, and it gets better. That's one thing I've found. It's nice when it's first made, but it gets a lot better.
Okay. Off camera, we need to grill you on this.
You should. Wheat beer is great.
You know what it is with this heritage? I mean, we're so lucky in the UK where we brew. Like we're next door to Belgium. We've got obviously the heritage of Germany, but also as British brewers, we have our own heritage, and we're pretty good here ourselves. So sometimes we just need to stand up and just do it.
If you think of anything sessionable, we're the envy of the world.
Yeah,
People
that's-
can't pack the flavour into the smaller beers in the way that we can in the UK.
Hey, we did. Can you remember that American fella came to see us filling casks? You remember that? We had an American brewer came to the UK with the express reason of finding out how British brewers fill casks.
Yeah,
Fill them?
learn to
Yeah, he
Not
didn't.
about how
but-
you make the beer, how you fill
No, it was
them.
about racking. It was about racking,
Right.
and he I think he was a bit. I think he felt like we were hiding something from him,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
because coming from just a background of kegs, when we were like, right, we
mean,
do
I-
this,
I-
you fill it up, you hammer the bung
I
in.
might
He
not be
was
down
just-
with the TikTok generation, but I reckon you could probably see that on YouTube.
Yeah, this was a while ago.
But you know what
Some
it
years they
is?
do it.
But you know when you travel, and it's one of the things that you realise as a British brewer, it's one of the things that we take really for granted because
Yeah.
for us, cask beer is kind of one of the first things you learn. It's kind of your bread and butter. Because for us, it's a lot easier process-wise. They're learning pressure, they're learning all the other parts of it. To other breweries around the world, like they don't get to see that.
And cellarmanship is the other thing they don't have. So, we have landlords who appreciate that cask beer is a living product. You basically tap it, vent it, serve it, and if it's not sold within 4 or 5 days, the beer's spoiled. Whereas in America, they're probably trying to keep it for 2 weeks. And they're like, what do you guys do to fill it to make sure it doesn't go off? Well, we don't. We do it probably the way you are. We just serve it and sell it quicker. And if it doesn't sell,
Well,
we have to destroy
I would
it.
say cask is simple, but not simple. So you're right in terms of minimum investment in equipment and all that kind of stuff. Producing cask in that sense, relatively straightforward. But to master the art of cask production,
hard,
I would say is considerably harder than producing keg beer. A major difference being with keg beer, you fully ferment it out, you inject it with gas. You've got constant control over the level of carbonation in that beer. Cask beer, yeah, you just got to hope that yeast's going to do the same thing every time, and it doesn't because it's organic. So it's really hard to nail cask beer. But that's why the British
It's
are
a
as good as what
complicated
they do.
simplicity, that's what it is.
I like that.
On that point,